So what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here, with a guest from South Africa. Now this sister really, put me up on a lot of games going on over there, and we're going to talk to her about, some of the stories that came out, or even just the climate in South Africa as well. So Nosipho, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Phillip Scott.
Okay, so Nosipho, tell people just a little bit about yourself. In case people say, "Well, who is this woman? Why is she here?" Because people ask that question. Also, we have a lot of South Africans that watch as well, so you got to definitely represent for South Africa. So tell people about yourself.
Well, my name is Nosipho Dyeshana, which means gift, um, and I'm originally from Cape Town, but right now I'm residing in Pretoria, Gauteng, due to studies.
Okay, so you're in basically in college right now.
I am in university, yes.
Okay, awesome. So, so you see a lot of stories that we talk about, and I know the last story we talked about on the channel was it actually in Cape Town, not mistaken. They had a protest at a school, and they said this particular school did not allow no black people to teach at this school, and they were talking about it's supposed to be like whites only. So a question I have about that is this. Many of us here, as Black Americans, look at that and say, why are they even there? Why are they there? Why are they causing problems? Could you, explain a little bit of that?
Well, it all goes back to colonialism. They came here during 1600s, and they've just landed here for a while. So, you know, unfortunately, in South Africa, we have schools where there is racism and there is a separation in terms of townships and suburban schools. And the place where there was a lot of racism was situated in a suburban area where a lot of white people reside.
Okay, so are the white people in a better financial position than most South Africans?
Not necessarily. It depends on where specifically. Western Cape is where a lot of wealthy people, wealthy white foreigners, and a lot of wealthy white people are due to the farms, the wine salaries, the wine farms as well.
Okay, so we notice that they're quite bold when they want to come at black people. Why they have so much confidence to do something like that, especially when they're
Well,
outnumbered?
well, in Western Cape specifically, I can't speak for every other province, but Western Cape specifically, through my personal experience, it's basically the fact that they have the economic power. And also, the second reason is that in Western Cape, the Black people, not only are they not at a strong financial par than the white counterparts, but a lot of them have that slave mentality, unfortunately. So that's where it goes because most white people in Western Cape have the economic power, and it just goes back to the privilege of the wealth gap between Black and the Caucasian and the white foreigners as well.
That's interesting, but I'm gonna get to that with that comment you made about the wealth gap. But let's talk about the slave mentality. What kind of slave mentality do they have? So some of the black people there in South Africa.
While due to the living conditions, the townships that are separated 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers away from each other, most of the time when you go to the suburban areas like Camps Bay, Clifton, West Beach, it's more predominantly where white foreigners are actually residing in and white people. And most Black people live in way far away from the township, between 10 kilometers away. So if you see a Black person there, it's normally a person that resides in Gauteng or who is basically a business or international person. But most Black South Africans who live in Western Cape, specifically Cape Town, they reside outside of town. So when you see a person in Camps Bay, most of the times it's normally white And unfortunately, it's a sad thing, the same situation that you have with Black Americans, where, they feel like white people are above a par. It's the exact same thing that's happening in Cape Town specifically.
But to hear you say that saddens me. I'm gonna tell you why. Because in America, we're between let's say 14 to maybe I say 16% of the population, but Black people specifically in South Africa is what, about 90% of the population?
Yes.
Okay, so why are you still having that problem, even though you're outnumbered? You guys outnumber them. How is it this small minority group is still being treated kind of better, kind of like it was during apartheid? Just maybe not so much the authoritarianism, but why is it these people are still in a better position? You mentioned the wealth gap as well.
It's mainly due to, like, I'm going to be honestly, my perspective, on my personal view, it's mainly due to political reasons, depending on which party resides in that province.
Okay, so it basically goes back to some of the issues that we have here in America. So basically, you say that it's maybe some favoritism.
Exactly, like just like you stated that in democratic areas, you'll normally see that there's a little bit of a class issue, whereas in a, what do you call the party that you guys have, the Republican? So where you'll see a lot of Republican areas, it's normally, a landscape of economic growth, whereas in South Africa, certain people that hold the power has economic resources and economic privilege to distribute that power to certain people. So it all goes back to economics and power and political issues. Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen, like you said, many times before, and I'll go back to this. It's like they feel emboldened, even though you say Western Cape. But if you still have Black people as 90% of the population, right? Um, they still feel bold enough to try to get into, you've seen the videos, get into Black people's face, act like they're running something. Do they still have that Arania town over there?
Orania, yes. But
Okay.
I have to be very honest with you. Orania is a very rural area
Hmm.
and it's located in Northern Cape. I would compare Northern Cape to Utah. It's very rural. It's not, I wouldn't even prefer a Black American to live there. The place to live for Black wealth, for Black success, for Black prosperity is Gauteng. You have many opportunities. The wealth gap is not as far. There's actually more wealthy Black millionaires and so-called billionaires in Gauteng.
Okay, so how far is that is from Johannesburg?
Gauteng is a province. So Gauteng, it's like in America you have states. In South Africa, we, instead of saying states, we have provinces. So under the specific province, you have different cities. So Gauteng is the capital city. So you have Gauteng, which is actually the province, which is a state, and then you have different cities behind under Gauteng.
Okay, so if you talk about some Black Americans that probably want to come and connect, because see, this was some Black Americans have said they've seen somehow some of these Mzungus, how they be acting in South Africa, but also I've heard stories, and like I said, I'm gonna go see for myself. Trust me, that they say I heard they treat us a little different than they treat maybe someone like you.
I
Is that
wouldn't
true?
necessarily I wouldn't necessarily say that, but if they hear your accent, yes.
Why is that? That we all Black?
Because you're from America, you're from a wealthy country and a wealthy continent. Americans are looked above. When you think of Americans, you think of Bill Gates, you think of Beyonce. So they have that mentality of America, sexy the city. That is the type of vibe that we actually see. And America has done a good job with having actually a beautiful PR way of actually showing the world how it is. Because when I think of America, I think of Six in the City, you know, I think of Wall Street. I don't think anything that is negative.
So speaking of that, so when you saw all the situation with Donald Trump and all his followers, what did you think about that? Watching it from South Africa?
I wasn't phased because I'm used to worse situations and worse scenes from politics. So it didn't phase me. I actually, you know, I think Donald Trump is actually someone that will actually wake Black Americans up to see how politics is really is specifically, because in South Africa our politics is a different style, you know. So yeah.
So why do you think Donald Trump will wake Black America up? I mean, because I said the same thing, but in a lot of Black Americans have seen some things, and beyond which, unfortunately, a lot of them was very afraid of Donald Trump at the same time. But why do you think it'll wake Black people up?
Because he's honest and he tells what you see is what you get. And I feel like Donald Trump actually takes the veil out of people's eyes and actually show them what's really going on. He's willing to expose everyone else, and he's showing you how life is with or without the cameras. So I feel like Donald Trump is a reality check. And when I look at Donald Trump, I actually see Donald Trump as a regular politician in South Africa.
Oh, talking crazy to the media and all of that. That's
That is, Donald Trump is actually mild. But I don't want to get too deep.
oh, he's considered mild. Wow, that's very
Very
interesting.
mild.
That's
Very.
interesting. So
And he's actually very safe.
Donald Trump is safe.
Very.
Wow, that's interesting. Um, so have you been to America before?
I haven't, but once I thought of going to actually have maybe apply for jobs, because it's very hard getting a job in South Africa if you were a university student. But after coming across your videos, I said no. I think I'll find another place to actually look for a job.
You know what? Like, we just try to show the reality, and thing is, I tell people all the time is that South Africans is the main people that can relate to us. You know, due to what you guys have went through with apartheid and what you're still dealing with, and then what we deal with here, with white supremacy, racism. It's like a no brainer for us to click, really. And I hate to hear that then people go to universities and they can't find work, and there's a lot of opportunity there because I see so many talented young people on the continent. I mean, so many. And
Yeah.
you hear people with PhDs driving Uber.
I mean, I can touch a little bit into it if you do want to
Oh, yeah,
speak about
yes,
it.
yeah, please.
When it comes to getting a job in South Africa, if you do not know anyone in South Africa, if you don't have connections, it's really hard to actually get a job. And most of the time when students actually apply for, jobs, it's either they overqualified or you need 10 years of experience. So someone like me who's currently studying, if I graduate, it's going to be hard for me to get a job, because the first thing you look into the CV is you may need 10 years of experience. How does a student get 10 years of experience if you just graduated? And if you don't have connections, it's really hard. Most people that I know personally, a lot of them are washing cars. I know someone personally that washes my car, and this person is a doctor. He's actually a physician, but he's washing cars right now. So it's that bad for students. That's why you find a lot of Africans traveling outside the continent, not by choice, but they have to feed their families, because many come from rural backgrounds. So if you don't have connections, it's going to be extremely hard, and you will resort to actually live in the country and go into areas that you don't want to want to go to, but you need the money to support back home.
So that's for people that always ask that question, why Africans are always immigrating over here to America. So basically what you're
Not
saying
by
is
choice.
Yeah, he said we're not coming because we just want to come. We have no choice because the economy is messed up.
Exactly. And you know, it's hard. I want to rephrase what I said. Most jobs require 5 to 10 years if you just graduated and you look into these posts and they say 5 to 10 years work experience, how will you apply for those jobs? How will you apply if you don't have connections, if you don't know anyone inside those jobs, inside those sectors? It's very difficult and it's very hard. And a lot of Africans, I can't speak for all, but people that I do know, when they do travel outside, they normally come back home after some time. I don't know if you noticed that, but most of the time it's just for work. That's I just want to be specific. It's just for work.
Well, that's crazy because I mean they so you mean to tell me they have no entry level positions? Everything is just basic extreme experience. Because 5-10 years is
Yeah.
a lot of experience.
Especially if you just graduated.
Wow. Okay. So, for instance, like we in the media business, things like that. So you have a young man, a young woman graduate school to be the journalist. So you mean to tell me they wouldn't get a job out of journalism school? They would have to wait or whatever they got to do. That is basically what you're saying.
Certain certain sectors, certain sectors, you you don't need to. However, most of the times you do have, for instances, for corporations where it's more ideal to know someone inside to get a job. Most likely because, I don't, well, yeah, most likely because some people have the privilege to receive what questions are going to be asked due in the interview.
So basically, what you're saying is that the job market is based off of nepotism
Yes,
and favoritism, basically.
exactly.
Oh wow, yeah, that's definitely not good. So if you don't mind me asking, what you in school for?
I'm currently studying business management.
Business management. Okay, all right. What led you down the route of business management?
I wanted to know more of the business aspect. I'm planning on opening up a business. Um, so I really want to know specifically the ins and outs of contracts so that I do not make mistakes of many people who I know have gone bankrupt and homeless. So, and you need financial literacy in life. And I feel like many people, especially in our community, don't have that financial literacy.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do the white people do they still retain all the knowledge and still hide a lot of it from the average black citizen?
No. The landscape of South Africa has changed
Mhm.
drastically, especially in Gauteng. Gauteng, we are the majority in terms of wealth, economics. So actually, there's more educated Black women, there's more educated Black businesses, there's more educated Black entrepreneurs. Most people that are on social grants are non Black people. Not saying that we're not in that category, but there's more entrepreneurs from our community. And if you do see white Caucasian people, a lot of them are retaining the wealth from their parents and their grandparents, like the farms.
Okay, and the farms is a big source of wealth for them.
Exactly. So
Okay.
it's passed generation to generation.
Okay, land that they stole. Okay, got it. Because that land belongs to the people. I mean, my thing is, you pretty sure you heard me say this before. I mean, if they don't like black people or whatever, they ain't carry themselves back to the Netherlands. That's my attitude about anything. I just don't like to see them treat you guys the way they treat you. Sometimes I'm not saying they've done you something personally, but it's just at times, you have run-ins. I mean, but like, if you had any run-ins with any of them, like growing up.
No. They know who to target. That's the thing. They know
Mm.
certain areas. They won't target the average alpha male or female, especially males. They know which areas to target and they know which people. They know that. illegal foreigners, they can target them because they're not supposed to be in the country. They know women and children that are vulnerable, that are dependent in vulnerable areas, they can target them. But the average black woman, black female, they know it's not going to go down because most people that I know and that are in metropolitan areas, they do protect themselves, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I definitely know what you mean. But it's interesting you said they basically know who to try. It's the same thing over here. It's like you see some black people go through things, and I always ask the question, like, why these people like come up to them and why they say these things? Because I don't really have those experiences either. But one thing that I do know is, like you said, they read you. They see
Yes,
it. Oh, I'm not gonna try that one or this one. Like, they can see weakness in you. I say they look at you. Like how a dog will look at you, and the dog
exactly.
knows when you have fear. So that's when the dog like gonna attack you.
Yeah, vulnerable people are more likely to actually have that attack on them. In Cape Town, it's less likely. I'm going to be honest with you. From what I see and what I experience, they don't they don't do that in metropolitan areas, but vulnerable people, like I said, illegal immigrants, women and children that are in vulnerable areas, you know those are main likely people that get affected, as well as domestic workers, like I brought it up to you, in my previous conversations with you.
Well, let me ask you another question. Because on the continent, like right now, we've seen different things happening. And yes, like I said, if me and you were standing next to each other, to the average person, we don't say a word. We just quiet. Most people would say, "Oh, that's two black people," until both of us speak. Then they say, "Okay, where you guys are from?" Right? So, with that being said, we've seen on the continent where people from different areas, and yet when they're not from that area, and they can look like me or you, they may be from Zimbabwe, they may be from wherever, right? Why is it that we see on the continent? I guess the word we want to use is, I don't like the term tribalism, but that's just kind of, I guess the term we can use. Why is it that it's still so tribalistic on the continent? I mean, even in the 21st century, why is that?
That is a very good question. You know, like I said, I can't get too deep into it, but it does come into. I believe, and this is just my opinion. I believe that the division actually started with certain people coming into our areas and manipulating us to believe that we don't look alike, we don't share cultural beliefs together, and I believe that actually manipulated our minds to believing that we're not actually the same.
Right. I believe
It's just my personal
yeah,
experience.
yeah. I believe we are. We do have our own cultures. Like, for instance, you have your culture, right? You're South African, but you still have a particular culture. You have your particular language outside of English, right? Um, then we as Black Americans have our culture. At the end of the day, we both Black, but yet we have a particular culture. Why is it that it can't be respected? That, okay, I respect your culture, I learn your culture, I learn of your culture, learn of your food, etc. Then maybe you learn of our culture. You get what I'm saying? I mean, because at the end of the day, we need to learn from each other, be patient with each other, instead of just so quick to, oh, I'm going to attack you because you don't sound like me. Oh yeah, you Black, but you're not my people. And I just see that as globally Black people, we do better if we learn of each other and work together than be apart. Because the only people that's benefiting off of us, fighting each other or whatever it may be, is the Mzungu, the Chinese, the Lebanese, the Indian. Everybody else is benefiting off of that.
You can actually call them Mulungu. That's what we call them, Mulungu,
But what
with the
language?
L.
But what language you speak?
I speak Setswana, but I am Xhosa.
Okay, you're Kosa.
So,
Okay,
Xhosa, yeah.
okay, all right. So you're Kosa, and then you have what, Zulu over there, correct?
Zulu, Ndebele,
Uh-huh.
Tsonga, what is that? The Khoisan, the San people, which are basically the ancestors of colored people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have different tribes: Xhosa, Zulu, Pedi, Tswana, Sotho. What else? Tsonga, did I say Tsonga? Tsonga, which is Venda people, Changani, and the Khoisans. Yeah.
Okay, so all those ethnic groups you're mentioning. So if, like, say, Black Americans, they say you want to come, where the Xhosa people at, right? Your particular ethnic group. Because some people say they have this Africans and African American or Black American kind of thing that comes up at times. I think it's stupid, to be honest with you, because I understand we're different and we're going to be different. Like I said, we have a different story, right? But I believe that our story relates very well to South Africans because we literally dealt with the same problem, more so than any other, African group on the continent.
I agree. I agree. But I'm going to be honest with you. And like
Go
I said,
ahead.
this is just my personal experience. I do not feel like South Africans have any issue specifically with Black Americans. We actually are in love with your culture. I mean, we have South Africans that are from villages that sound like they're from New York. Like, you have South African rappers, they that adopted the style, just everyone loves Black American culture. I mean, we infatuated the swag, the talk. When you think of Black Americans, you think of Ice Cube, you think of Tupac. These are people that we grew up on. Snoop Dogg. These are people that we infatuated with. Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, just the culture and you guys have a beautiful culture and a beautiful lingo that a lot of South Africans idolize. Even South African rappers that sound and dress and act just like Black Americans. You wouldn't even know actually the difference.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that South Africans have an issue because no, I've never heard that. I mean, like I said,
We love you guys.
yeah,
We
we,
love you.
like I said, when you guys are going through apartheid, they had that sanctioned South Africa movement because of what was going on against the people. So we've always been on you guys, side and team because we relate to, like I said, how you guys are being treated and everything. And like I said, when Nelson Mandela became the president, we celebrated too. Right over here, we felt like we won when Nelson Mandela became the president. So we always had that history as Black American. No, when I was mentioning that comes from other areas of the continent, not South Africa. I've never really even heard no issues like that. I know Steve Harvey's there. He's loving it. He started shows over there. Like I said, I can't wait to get to South Africa. The only thing that held me back was COVID. Like I said, hopefully everything can go right. We can be there either in February or September, one of the months, but we're definitely going to be there because I want to have a base there in South Africa as well. Because I believe that's a good area to have a base at. You guys have, the infrastructure is great in South Africa. I think Black Americans probably would have a little bit less culture shock in South Africa than they probably would in let's say Ghana or Nigeria, etc. But is this something you agree with?
Absolutely.
So how many expats have you ran into that's there in from America as Black Americans?
Sorry, can you repeat what you
The
said?
expats that are there, like I said, they have a pretty big expat community in South Africa.
You mean in terms of foreigners
As in
or
terms of Black Americans that's moved or going back and forth constantly in South Africa.
there's many, but they scattered around. So it depends. Most of the time they're in Gauteng and some were scattered in Cape Town.
Okay, all right. And then, so let's say you want to, let's say like you want to start a business. A person, let's say, got a restaurant over here in America. They say, you know what, I want to go and open up uh, Granny Mae's soul food restaurant in South Africa. Would that be pretty easy to do?
Yeah, we have different lands, but I prefer, and I'm gonna be very honest with you, I prefer that most people actually start their businesses in Gauteng. That's where the money is at. Gauteng. That's where wealthy Black people are. And I'm just being honest from my perspective and my personal experience.
No, we need it. We need this information because a lot of times when we come, most people know it's Johannesburg. That's all they need to know. It's Johannesburg. They make
Pretoria,
do what?
Pretoria is actually beautiful. I'm saying Pretoria. It's
Uh-huh.
another city within Gauteng. I would compare Pretoria and Johannesburg to New York and New Jersey. It's just 40 minutes away from each other. But it's in the same state, province. And Pretoria is actually a very ideal place because not only is it safe, but it's more clean and there's a lot of land that is actually big for commercial people and commercial businesses. There's a lot of areas where you can lend out a business as well.
So just to clear some things up, because like I said, I've heard this said too, and I want to let you say it more so than me. So if a person from America, a Black American, move to South Africa, or at least just go and visit, try to see what they can establish, it's not going to be the same problem with the racism. Like, see, when they see racism on the show as in South Africa, it's a little bit different than America, at least from what I was told, right? So do you believe that if they would come there, would they have those issues, or just like, that's a here and there thing?
Every country has racism, unfortunately, and South Africa is victim to the racism, due to certain people being in the country. Like you said, wherever there is certain people, you will have racism. However, the racism is not as severe as how the media is portraying. People are still surviving, still living. And I just want people to understand that do not believe everything that is projected on TV because it's preferable to actually see for yourself. Many South Africans are very assertive. They do defend themselves and they are willing to die. We're not a group of people that are afraid to challenge racism. And it depends on certain areas, especially rural areas. That's where vulnerable, underprivileged people are actually subject to it. But metropolitan areas like Durban, Gauteng, Cape Town, you're not going to find that severity of racism or attacks because a lot of people do not play that game. A lot of Black people and colored people, they do not play that discrimination game. They are ready to defend themselves, whether it's life and death experiences, and they don't mind actually taking anything to legal issues. So I will just say that please do not believe everything that is projected on the media. What they won't show you is how Black people and colored people actually defend themselves to the races and actually get busy. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's I've covered I think one video, one sister maybe a year or so ago, and she was going in on the white supremacists.
don't
Like,
play that game.
ooh, yeah, you remember that video?
I remember, and we do not play. We have brothers, we have uncles, we have boyfriends, we have husbands, we have family members that are willing to defend their women. So I will just say that.
That's awesome. You mentioned colored, and see, in America, we don't have that classification. For people that don't understand that classification, could you explain that? The colored classification?
So colored specifically, and this is going back to, the subject of racism. During apartheid, we were separated based on skin tone and hair. Those that had fair skin and had silky hair would be separated and classified as mixed race. This was prior 1994. However, after 1994, they actually changed the term to colored. Some people were given the opportunity to either change to Black or stay colored. And this is just from the recollection from family members that actually lived. Like I said, this is from what I'm saying right now is from a personal experience from family members that lived it my mother, my father, my uncles that were there front and center, and historian books that I've read that colored people were separated by hair and skin tone. Those that were fair skinned, those that had silkier hair than what Black Americans would call nappy, they would be subject to colored or prior 1994 mixed race. After 1994, you were given an option to choose. Some went black and some went colored.
That's interesting. So some of them rather stay being called colored and not black. So they don't see themselves as black? They see themselves as a different group?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't speak for everyone else, but from my personal experience and what I've seen, and people that I've come in contact that were there during apartheid, some chose to be non-black due
Wow.
to privileges of economic power and positions in employment.
So being colored meant that you get a better leg up than being black.
Based what I was told from people that lived in the struggle, yes,
So in 2020, is it still like that today or that's changed?
absolutely not. Like I said, it's about who you know, not what you know.
Wow. In America, they never allowed us to have that classification. Because they have a thing called the one drop rule. And so if you have one drop of black blood, they say you're black. They didn't separate us like that. So you can have a person that's, what they would call in America now a biracial or something like that. And they can be like that YouTuber. What's that? She pops up in my head. Vanessa Canby, that's in the Ghana, they would say that she's black, right? In America, but maybe Vanessa Canby would be called colored in South Africa.
South
And
Africa.
excuse me?
I'm agreeing with what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
actually saying.
It's quite interesting. And then they create their own class of people. And then I can definitely see a problem with that actually causing a problem for black people with them doing that, to a sense like it's like they can kind of play both sides when they want to. They don't have to make a choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So have you seen those? Because I've seen that this one story I covered with a woman was being harassed. It was out. She was in Cape Town. I don't know if you saw that video, or you did. And the cops were quote unquote colored, but they was treating her like racist white people.
Exactly. That's Western Cape for you.
Ah, okay. And that woman has spoke Afrikaans and everything.
Yeah. But okay, let me not get into deep. I don't want to upset the colored community because a lot of them, do get upset when you speak about their community, their race.
Okay, well, let me speak for you. We're not saying all of you. Who we talking about? Some, not all. Some,
Oh,
not all. Okay, we established that.
okay. So with some, a lot of them actually have that mentality of, I'm not black, I'm mulatto, I have fair skin, my skin color is different. Western Cape is known to be a very racist state,
Mhm.
province, and a lot of the time, it's always I will disclose this, some colored people who do come from poor backgrounds that have the conflict of, well, black people, all black people live in a certain area, all black people are dumb, and it's not always the case. But like you said, those people managed to actually enslave certain Africans to believe that they're better because of their skin tone, because of actually how they look. So when you have that type of mentality, due to the privileges that they do get in certain provinces like Western Cape, you have some that feel like, oh, well, I'm not black, so I can get treated better. I can get better positions. And, from my personal experience, I've seen some get a better privilege because they stated that they're actually colored, because they stated that I'm not black. a lot of them, specifically in Western Cape, had that privilege of getting better positions and better privilege due to the fact that they're not Black. But that I can only say because I do come from Cape Town. You know, I have experienced the privileges of seeing how actually some colored people are being treated compared to Black people. So Western Cape, I wouldn't prefer an average Black American to live here. I would prefer Black Americans to live in Gauteng, where you are more likely to get wealthy, you're more likely to be feel that you're at home. But Western Cape is not a place. A lot of Cape Townians, a lot of Western Cape, excuse me for my language, a lot of Western Cape Black people are actually migrating to Gauteng because you're only allowed to actually get a you're only allowed to reach a certain climate in terms of economics, and then once that happens, you're done. You know, you cannot reach over. And a lot of the times when you do reach that step of actually breaking the ceiling, you are subject to discrimination, you know, passive aggressive racism. So it does happen, especially in the corporate sector of employment.
So basically, what you're saying is you have some just want to be a tan version of a white supremacist.
Yes, because they know that they can actually get a better lifestyle and a better economic power and employment if they name themselves colored. But
Mm.
I don't see that outside of Western Cape.
Okay, all right. So brothers and sisters, definitely, she telling you stay away from Western Cape.
Not.
Don't go to the rural areas where Ronnie is at, because that's when you have some them ignorant white supremacists at. You know, we just learning, and you would definitely want to be in the area where the money's at. That's for sure, because you know you come with your dollar, you exchange it, get the rand, you're gonna have some money.
You're gonna have, and you're
I,
not gonna actually experience. I'm not saying that there's racism, but that there's no racism. Sorry, that there's no racism, but you're more likely to have an upper hand because in Gauteng, you can find someone with a Porsche and that person has protection, you know, and they know, okay, I can't challenge this person because number one, that person have money to go to court and that person have political power. So you don't want to damage that protection challenging a Black person with power, especially in Gauteng. So Gauteng is not a joke. Do not come there being very cocky because you will get a serious conversation, but just be humble, but be streetwise. Please be streetwise. That's all I want to say.
oh, so you saying the goons are running around looking to get you?
The goons actually have suits.
Oh, shoot, that's in every country. Even in America, the goons got suits. Shoot, they
And
in the White House, they in the Senate, they everywhere.
they drive convertibles. So don't get twisted. They actually drive convertibles.
Yeah, but see, they don't like to they don't like to tell you that. But yeah, the tell how people, if we want to ask you a question. Okay, somebody may have some questions for you that I didn't get to. Where can people maybe ask you a question, or you have like well, I mean, I know I'm not gonna put your Twitter out unless you give it. Or do you have an Instagram? Like, what do you have?
I, um, I just post my Twitter. I don't mind. I don't mind.
Okay, your Twitter. Okay, so people can message you and send you DMs, etc. Right?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we'll pin her Twitter in the pinned comment, and if you have any question about South Africa, then maybe she can ask. You know, outside of Mark and Latasha Blanton with the Real South Africa, they have, you know, they're expats over there as well. There's a lot of information. You know, make sure you get the right um, direction that you may need. So, Nosipho, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Nosipho.
Okay, I'm sorry. See y'all. Hold on. Let me get back on camera. Hold on. See, I tell you, I'm still learning these names. Y'all know me. Nosipho, right? Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, see. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. I know people gonna be laughing at me, but that.
And I'll give you a name as well. I'll give you a name as well.
Oh,
Lesedi.
everybody's trying to give me a name. They gave me a name.
Right.
Kenya. What name you just said?
Lesedi.
What does that mean?
Like less, it means light.
Light. Oh, see, light is a good thing. Light. Yeah, you got to type that name out to me. Light is a good thing. But ladies and gentlemen, you know, definitely thank you, and make sure you check out that pinned comment and send a sister a message, and I'm pretty sure she'll get back to you within time. So, sister, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phillip Scott.